have a happy little visitor here next to me. I guess that's par for the course lately. Okay, in this video, you might be able to hear him actually. In this video, I have sort of been inconsistent, maybe, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense to me, about DBT, because I think that doing DBT is really not the best idea for somebody with avoidant personality disorder, because you have to be so reflective, because there's like this, y'all have heard the serenity prayer, right? That's sort of like the basis of DBT, you know, is to try to figure out what you can change in your life versus what you can't, accept what you can't, change what you can. The problem with avoidant personality disorder is personality disorder, you really can't change much. The big things you want to and need to change, you can't change. So you sit there in DBT class, and which is the third reason why it's is because to really do DBT, you're supposed to be in a group therapy thing. So it's like a couple hours of the group and then an hour of one-on-one therapy also, and so that's very stressful. But so to do real DBT and take the class, I think is can't recommend it for somebody with avoidant personality disorder. However, what they teach you about in DBT, I think, is very could be very helpful for somebody who is avoidant. First of all, they teach you mindfulness, which I've already talked about at least once this month. I think twice actually. And they really take you step by step through learning how to really do it, and to not, you know, do the Instagram version of it, but to actually be mindful, meaning not, and a lot of people, they say be mindful, and what they actually mean is be careful of other people. Mindful means check yourself. And it's like, no, that's not what it means. That's not what it means at all. You know, it's like, anyway, so that's crap. But but to be actually mindful, like I said, is to basically pay attention to the here and now, and not focus on stuff that's happened in the past and ruminate, and not go forward into the future and try to predict the future. That's good. The other things that are good is there's a concept called wise mind. DBT is all buzzwords, all acronyms. It's kind of ridiculous. But what wise mind is, basically, and again, this is kind of similar to what I was talking about before, when I was saying this is what an avoidant thought is versus an authentic thought. Try to make that distinction, even though they're both coming from inside, but, you know, one is usually just damaging and the other is more sensible. Wise mind is, it splits thinking into two totally separate sections, and says that there's two ways of thinking, which is one, to be just completely logical, here's the facts, this is what's happening, and to only take the facts into mind. And, you know, in this case, it would be the person who lays down on a sword, or who says, okay, well, you know, we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater type of thing, and not make any kind of personal thoughts on anything a priority at all, and just cut all emotion out totally. You know, be as cold as you possibly can be, in other words. Robotic. That's the logical side. The other side is entirely emotional, which is, who cares about everybody else on the planet? Who cares about, you know, rules and laws and what's physically possible, and all I care about is right now, this is what I want. These are, sort of like spoiled brat behavior, but not always. I mean, sometimes this is like people who are lovesick are totally being emotional. The point of wise mind is to look at both sides at the same time and allow them both to help you make your decision about what you're going to do. I mean, so for instance, one of the big trends this past year, what the heck did they call it? Swedish death purging or something like that. Basically throwing everything out. And I mean, the point is literally, if I die tomorrow, I don't want my loved ones to have the burden of going through my stuff and sorting it out. So I'm going to throw out absolutely everything that I don't need now. That sounds a little excessive to me. But that's not being a wise mind at all. Wise mind would be, to take this cleaning analogy, let's say you've got all this junk that you've been collecting for the last 10 years or something, and like say you started a collection and you liked the collection and wasn't that nifty, like every time you went traveling. These are lame examples, I'm sorry. That, the other big thing people do when they travel, which I don't understand, but they do, is they collect shot glasses. It's something to do. Anyway, I mean, so you may have thought that was nifty when you were like 21 or 22 and got shot glasses from everywhere, and now you're 32 and you're like, I have 50 shot glasses that I never use, that either are in a drawer somewhere or I have to dust them. But then maybe you're looking at them and really there are a handful of them that really mean something to you right now, and so you go through and you get rid of, that's the logic part, saying, I don't really want to dust these things anymore, and I'd rather have the drawer to put other stuff in. So you get rid of the things, but then you stop and look at each one to see, this one might have a really cool, pretty design. This one might really, truly, it was like the day that you found out that you were going to get a new puppy. Who knows? And so it really means something emotional to you. Those ones you keep. So it's not so completely this or that, it's both. You have to take both into account, and that includes all decisions that you make in your life. Like, your job sucks. Okay. If you're being emotional and your job sucks, you're just going, quit. Boom, quit. If you're being completely logical, you're like, well, okay, well, I need to have another job before I can, and it's really difficult to find jobs. So therefore, I'm going to keep this job because, bird in hand is better than two in a bush. It doesn't matter how miserable you are. And it is really, really hard, especially for somebody who's got a background of abuse, who has been taught to not trust themselves and to think that they're unworthy and to think that they can't make decisions and their decisions are invalid, to actually do that, because it's so much easier to go with one or the other than to bring them together and make a real decision. Somebody told me that I'm really good at making decisions. I am sure it's because I went through DBT. And because they practice this, so that you get to the point where you don't have to spend a couple of days psyching you up to the point where you can, or like able, like have permission, I don't know how you want to describe it, that you can make decisions for yourself, and you can make decisions on the categories, or I keep saying I know. I can't even articulate it, so how can you know? But basically, you get to make the decision about what the most important aspects of whatever decision you're making are. You know, people think, for instance, I get guff about where I live from people who know me. They're like, you know, you would probably be better if you were in a more like city environment. You did well when you were in a city environment before. I'm like, yes, I know, but I also have a child and a son who needs grass. And I think that's the important thing. So, you know, that's the other part of if you actually do the wise mind process, then when people question what you're doing, you can actually give them an answer because you've already thought it out. You already know the reason why you're doing whatever you're doing. So there's that. And let me see. Again, see, I'm losing my mind. I've been doing so many of these videos. Because there's another aspect of of DBT that is super important. And again, this is the reason why DBT is good if you actually study it is it breaks stuff down. It actually tells you how to do this. But the other thing that I think is really interesting and important about DBT is they teach you effective communication. Yeah, communication is difficult for people with avoidant personality disorder, but especially the effectiveness part is what they really focus on, which is, you know, I mean, like if you're angry, to say that you're angry. Use the word. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Don't try to cover it up. Just, I'm angry. Because if you label something as opposed to beating around the bush until you explode, definitely makes things better. And as far as what you need, I mean, a note, this is just about impossible for somebody with avoidant personality to do, to say, I need this from you. I still can't do that. I really can't. I really can't. But, yeah, that's another thing that it goes over. And again, it gives you really concise rules about it. It gives you really difficult and lame homework assignments, things like, and it doesn't even apply anymore. You gotta remember this stuff came up for a while ago, but go to a gas station and ask the attendant to check your oil, thank them, whatever they answer, and then leave without buying gas or oil or anything else, no purchase whatsoever. I'm like, where do you find a gas station attendant anymore? That part of it, and again, that's really difficult. And I mean, the thing that that made me run from DBT was when they said, oh yeah, call up a friend and ask them out to the movies with you. I'm like, yeah, I have friends. There's an assumption for you, and invite them to do, yeah, whatever. What are you talking about? This is not going to happen, you know. So as far as doing the homework assignments, you're going to have to modify them. I think this is when all that fantasizing, thinking, whatever, that people that have avoidant personality disorder do, which is part of diagnosis. So that's really real. I think that would help, because you can sort of run it through your head, 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 and practice it without practicing with another person, and learn how to, again, be effective. So the point of effective communication is to keep in mind what your end result is that you want and need, and don't forget that, so that you don't get caught up in the, you know, details of whatever, but to actually keep going to end result is this. And which again is not easy. DBT can help, and I think those are the three things that of DBT that are most helpful for people with avoidant personality disorder.